So this is the first step in the glazing process. There's a glazing checklist that I'm going to talk to you guys about tomorrow when we do the actual glazing, but you want to do this a day before you glaze. We're going to wax the bottom. This is wax resist. It does what it says. So we're going to put wax on the areas that we don't want glazed. When we glaze things, glaze is stuff that goes on the surface. Then we're going to fire it a second time. When we fire it the second time, the stuff that is the glaze is going to melt into glass. It's going to be a colorful glassy coating on the surface of your pot. So when we raise the temperature in the kiln, the stuff melts. When we turn the kiln off and let it cool, the melted stuff solidifies. It becomes solid again. So if you have glaze on the bottom of your pot and you put the pot on the shelf in the kiln and we raise the temperature and melt the stuff and we lower the temperature and solidify the stuff, what just happened?
It's stuck to the thing.
Yeah, your pot and my shelf are now one object. And I'm going to use a hammer to get yours off of mine without breaking mine, because those shelves cost about $100 a piece. So that's why we can't have glaze on the bottom. So there's a couple ways to get no glaze on your bottoms. Number one is don't put glaze on your bottoms. Pretty easy, right? So if the bottom has to be clean, you can avoid glaze in the bottom. This is another way. Wax resist is a wax coating that we're going to put where we don't want glaze. And so then once I wax the bottom, I can dip the whole pot in the glaze and submerge it completely, glaze everything, and where it's waxed, the glaze will just run right off. It will not stick to the pot. And then we'll wipe it off and it'll be clean. Does that make sense? Here's how to do it. With a round bottom piece, it's a little tricky sometimes to know where the bottom is or where the bottom starts and the wall ends. So here's a little trick. I set it down on the table, and you want about a 1/4 inch, about this much space from the floor up to be clean. So we want to wax from a 1/4 inch up down. So to figure that out, I'm going to take a pencil, I'm going to hold it about a 1/4 inch up, and I'm going to come in and in and in and in until I feel it touch the pot. I'm just going to give it a turn, and it's going to draw a little line there. It's going to guide me. So I know if I wax it in this area, I've waxed everything that is the bottom and a 1/4 inch off the shelf. Does that make sense? Alright, so the next part, pretty easy. This is my wax resist. This is just like the slip. The threads on these, did I talk to you guys about slip?
Yeah.
The threads on these lids and the lip here tend to get gummed up after a while. And so sometimes the lid looks like it's on, but it's just kind of stuck there. Don't carry this by the lid. Because you start walking around with it by the lid, it might not actually be stuck, and then the jar falls out, and you're standing there and you're like, no. And as that jar of wax goes down and hits land square on the bottom, what's going to happen to the wax? All over yourself. It's really embarrassing. It's in your hair and your face and your eyes. So this is a brush. I dipped it in the wax, and now I'm going to just carefully brush the wax in that area. How much wax do you need? Not much at all, just enough to barely coat it. The thinnest coat possible is enough. Is it bad if you get a lot of wax on your bottom? It just takes longer to dry. And that's why we're doing this a day ahead of time, to give it 24 hours to dry, which is ideal, but a minimum of probably 2 hours. 24 hours is good. That's a waxed bottom. So at this stage, I was supposed to tell you to work on a piece of newspaper. That way if I spilled anything, I just throw the newspaper away. At this stage, I just need to let it dry. If you see big puddles of wax sitting on the surface, just take a piece of newspaper and kind of blot it a little bit. Like I said, the thinnest coat possible is all you need. And the less it's on there, the faster it'll dry, the sooner you can glaze. Are there any questions on how to do this? Okay, tomorrow, so today, wax your bottoms. Tomorrow I'm going to show you how to start glazing on block day. Thank you.